Joe, the other day I had to go to Two Rivers Ford. Why, you're asking? Why? Thank you.
Did you go
because
to Two Rivers?
My windows were not working. My top was not going down.
You called me in a huff.
I was a little bitter.
The top is down every time you're in that car.
Nobody has put a top down more than me in convertibles. Anyway, I went over there. They diagnosed it.
Your diagnostic
they
test?
checked it out, and it fixed like that. I was in the waiting room where the free snacks are.
We've been there.
Anyway, it was just another great experience of Two Rivers Ford. I had an issue. It got solved like that.
And John bought that beautiful 2025 Mustang GT. Maybe that's not your speed. Maybe it's an SUV. One of the many Fords you can see online, tworiversford.com. American-made, locally owned, and built Ford proud. No pressure in your buying experience. Stop by in Mount Juliet. tworiversford.com, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
It's the Second Cup of Joe and John with Joe Elvis and John Dwyer.
Give it up.
Joe!
Hello, John. Do you have the fever?
Well, it's 100 degrees out this time of year. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm not talking about Zika. I'm talking about FIFA. The World Cup
goes on for like 2 years.
90 years. The World Cup is on. My sons dig it. Now, I guess that's where you get generational. Or did you? So I grew up at Hendersonville High School, graduated 81. We've all talked about that. Soccer was just coming into Nashville back at that time. In those late 80s, high school clubs were starting to emerge. So soccer up north, I moved from up north, everybody played soccer. Soccer was big in schools. Boring as can be to me.
I played, you know what's more boring? I didn't play baseball because it was too darn slow. I played soccer in high school.
Well, there you go.
And nobody had any skill set.
Fast forward, it's huge. We have our own Nashville SC and beautiful Geodis Park now, enormous, and the whole world is coming to America. And my point is...
What is your point?
I love, I just get exhausted on the social networking. Well, America's got so many problems and this, that, and the other. America is the greatest place in the world, and all of the world is coming to the United States, and they're saying, hey, this isn't what I hear about. This place is great, and a lot of it's in Boston. They're discovering ranch dressing. They're seeing a Walmart going, what is this? It's Chick-fil-A. It's the great Americanisms that we have.
Boy, when you think of the Mount Rushmore of American 250, I would
there you go.
You would put that
all
up
the great
there.
stuff that makes us fat
and processed
here in
food.
America.
And by the way, that soccer team is, they're meh, right?
I don't know. I don't know who's good. I don't know who's bad. I know there's Messi and there's the other guy.
That's all there is Messi.
But, do you go to Nashville SC here?
No.
2.5 hours later, and it's 0-0.
Yeah,
no?
and they sing songs, and that's about it.
That's the fun part.
You know who knows a lot
We're gonna hear it
about Nashville sports?
Some inside stories.
Yeah, this is a 2-for-1. You're gonna like this. You are.
Hey, we know people. Let's take a spin through Joe and John's Rolodex.
Joe, it stops on B. We got a 2-for-1 here. We have the dynamic duo, if you will, married 31 years.
Wow.
Thereabouts. My father would say that's 62 years combined. Tammy Boclair, Vice President of All Day Public Relations, but everybody knows her in the Nashville, Middle Tennessee sports arena as one of the great college sports information directors. Hall of Fame 2009 in, I think it's called Tammy COSIDA. Do I have that right? Is that the acronym?
Well, it was COSIDA.
COSIDA.
Now it's College Sports Communicators. They had a big branding change. So
okay, because nobody could say, because they would say COSIDA. Yeah, because I screwed that up. And also your lovely, lovely husband, David Boclair. I promise you've read him, you've seen him. He's at the Nashville Banner now, a longtime sports writer, covered the Titans, Predators since the 90s, variety of publications, including, get this, Joe, Daily News Journal, City Paper, Nashville Post, and Sports Illustrated. David and Tammy, welcome to the Second Cup of Joe. And John, how are you?
We're good. We're a little warm. I think, at least I am. It's hot out there.
Do you like soccer, David? You've covered every sport.
Where do you fit? I started my career in Dallas, and I covered a lot of soccer down there in the day, and did a lot of the build up to the '94 World Cup, when the last time the World Cup was here. I actually, in those days, I had a pretty good relationship with the national team. Was on the first name basis with the coach at the time, a man named Bora Milutinovic, and that's a long way to say no. I'm not a big soccer fan, but sometimes you do, in my line of work, the best work you do is the stuff you don't know,
right?
Because then you ask more questions.
You ask probably the obvious questions that you might just hand off nicely, where you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What's that?
Exactly.
Did Vanderbilt? Forgive me, Tammy. Vanderbilt soccer was a thing. Yes, it
was a thing.
Okay,
yes, it is a thing now. They still have a women's team, but back when I came in, they had men's and women's team. But I covered the men's team. And I do not like soccer. I mean, I go on record. I do not like soccer.
Yeah.
But I'm the same way. I go to you go to a match and you're like, I've been here and it's 0-0. What's going on? I mean, I went to my nephew's, the Tweety Birds, when he was playing soccer. I went to his games. But I would even when I was covering it, the guys knew that I didn't care for it, and I told them, I said, "Why do you dive? Why do you dive and you act like you're dying?" And then 2 seconds later, they're like, "That's what we have to do." They'd come up to me after the game or the match and be like, "How'd you like that dive, Miss Tammy?" I'm like, "Oh, y'all just drive me crazy."
They're all flopping. They're all flopping everywhere. They're
do.
drama queens.
And we just came off the Stanley Cup playoffs, where they're just hitting each other at 20 mile an hour. And here's the guy, we bump elbows, and they got a stretcher coming out.
Yes.
It's quite funny to me.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe let's rewind just a little bit. Dallas, as David said, you went to SMU, I believe, and Stephen
F. Austin.
Is that in Texas too?
It is, in Nacogdoches, Texas.
So talk about how you met some 31 years ago.
Well, I grew up actually it's outside of Philadelphia, made the big trip down to Dallas to go to SMU, in large part because I wanted to see big-time college football, and they had just gone 11-0-1, won the Cotton Bowl, and had shared the national championship that year. And so, of course, 2 years into my college career,
did they share the national championship?
Here we go. This is a Notre Dame comment coming out.
No, but of course,
you do
for choosing a college that way. My reward was 2 years in that SMU gets the death penalty, and I have no college football for my last 2 years. But I was on the campus newspaper at the time, and that was quite an education in journalism day to day, going through that whole thing.
Great.
And did you know this was what you were just going to be a sports writer?
I knew I won a writing contest when I was in second grade, and pretty much knew from that moment on that's what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe a little deeper question in that with SMU. You just said you knew what you wanted to do, but man, all of a sudden you are front page on one of the biggest scandals in NCAA history. You are front and center. Did that motivate you? And what was your involvement in that story?
Yeah, we had the campus newspaper. We published 5 days a week, and at the time, the Dallas Morning News and the Dallas Times-Herald were waging a massive newspaper war in Dallas, and for a period of months, then this SMU story became ground zero for them, and my head was spinning through the whole thing. I mean, I didn't understand, John. You certainly understand this, how a story kind of becomes a living, breathing thing for a period of time, and I had no clue about that. I would get up in the morning, read the morning news, read the Times-Herald, try to follow what they did, and keep up with whatever the news of the day was. Work all day, put the paper to bed, get a little homework done, go to bed and think, okay, we got that done. Now we're caught up, and then be surprised the next day when, there's new information out. And that went on for about 3.5 weeks, and it was just a blur.
So real quick, what was the violation of SMU? Because the punishment was it banned the football team.
Yeah, they were on probation for paying players.
Okay,
and they continued to pay players. And in one of the most bizarre news conferences I have ever attended and will ever attend, a former governor of Texas, who was on the board of trustees at the time, a man named Bill Clements, basically when one of the newspapers, I don't remember who actually broke the story, he came, they had a press conference, and he said, well, yeah, we've been paying these players, but we haven't paid any new players, but we had commitments to these other kids, and we've been honoring our commitments to them. And that was...
It's a good Texas man.
He's very honest. Well, maybe a quick comment on the NIL now. Isn't it weird how we've gone from that day to hiding it to it's front and center?
Yeah, and that's what's funny about that is a lot of it is set up right now in these NIL collectives. It's exactly what SMU was doing 40 years ago.
They were ahead of their time.
They were ahead of their time.
And it cost them.
And they are proudly one of the biggest collectives right now. They said, we know how to do this. If this is the landscape, let's go. You can all follow us, and there's oil money in that school, so there's money to be thrown around that way.
So that's a really touching story of how you two met.
Yes.
How did you two? That was your original. I'm just letting you know.
I should just ask Tammy this question right off the bat. How did you two meet, Tammy?
Well, my background was really, when I went to Stephen F. Austin, I wanted to be a sportscaster. Because growing up, my brother was 12 years older than me, and when we went to the games, my dad had me sit right beside him, and he taught me all the games. So he taught me all the rules with football, baseball, basketball. So I loved Ron Franklin, rest his soul. Ron Franklin, and he was a sportscaster in Houston.
I worked with him because he did the Titans or the Tennessee Oilers preseason games, and I was and he with Jeff Van Note, I believe, was the color guy, but he was a super gentleman to me.
Yes, he was fabulous to me as well. I was so fortunate to get to meet him at one of my stops when I was at LSU. But if we're talking about how we met, I ended up where I was. I came back to work at the Southland Conference that was based in Plano, Texas. So I was a director of communications there, and David at the time was working at the Fort Worth Star Telegram, and he was covering University of Texas at Arlington and North Texas, and both of those teams were in the Southland Conference. So we would see each other at events, and I mean, we'd talk, and it was no big deal. We would talk, and we'd see each other, and then in the meantime, my
You're
brother
biting your tongue.
I was smitten. I was smitten
okay, that's
right
what
away.
I think. You were giving it away. You wanted to meet her, and
we met each other. She's super hyper professional, and I just thought, there's no way she's ever going to go out with a guy she's got a professional relationship with. So for a year and a half, I kept my mouth shut.
Yeah. And in the meantime, my brother and his family live in Fort Worth, in Grapevine, where David was. I was in Plano. He's in Grapevine. And he's telling me about this great guy that he wants me to go out with. I said, I do not do blind dates. I will not do blind dates. He goes, but he's a great guy. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. So anyway, fast forward about 2 years, we kind of were talking at a football media day, and I was saying how much I love Clint Black. So, good Texas boy also. So Clint Black is coming to Dallas. So David asks me on a date to go to the Clint Black concert. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, yes. I said, because I liked him also, but I thought, we need to, both of us it was kind of funny because we're both like, okay, we need to keep this professional because we both do work together. We want to make sure, So we go out. We go out to the Clint Black concert, had a great time. And so I'm talking to my brother, and I said, I went out with this guy. He knows you. I said, he knows you. He said he goes to church with you. He goes, who? I said, David Boclair. He goes, that's the guy I've been trying to get you to go out with. So it was sort of kind of fate there. But I will say, that's how we met. And that was November. Our first date was November 19th. And then
David knew that.
I did know that.
Yeah, he did. Pretty good. And then we got engaged a year later on November 29th. It's our mama's birthdays. Both of our mothers' birthdays was November 29th. But the funniest was, after we got engaged, we went to a basketball game. I was there representing the conference office, and David was working the game at North Texas, and it was with Northwestern State University, which is in Natchitoches, Louisiana. And that sports information director, Doug Ireland, who I adore, but Doug knew everything. Doug knew everything that was going on. He sees my hand, and he goes, because David and I were sitting there talking with him, and he goes, oh my God, I didn't even know you were dating anybody. Who are you engaged to? And I'm like, just kind of pointed to David. I said, well, to him,
See,
he goes, how did
F12
y'all
on
ever
press
do this?
row.
Yeah.
Most people didn't know we were dating until we were engaged. So we did a good job keeping it professional when we needed to.
Well, you've made it work. And David John gave a little bit of that resume from the Daily News Journal, the City Paper, the Nashville Post. You've covered. You've been. John and I combined have 80 years in broadcasting here in Nashville, so you've lived through all eras of our changing frontier and face of media. The internet hit, and my best line I love that you said on your LinkedIn is, you're an aging newspaper man constantly adapting to the new age of media, which is what we are. And congratulations on the Nashville banner. Your new gig. Demetria Kalodimos was a guest on our show, and just as it was getting resurrected, she was on talking about, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're getting old folks that love it again. Talk about present day work and what your duties are now.
Well, it's I covered sports for 30 some years, whatever, and this opportunity came along, and it was kind of the right thing at the right time for me. I always imagined myself as I'd be one of those guys who I'd be 85 years old, still in a press box, and you could come to me and say, hey, do you remember the 2005 season? And I'd say, yeah, there was a game in week 7 against Minnesota, and hell, I can't remember what happened last week anymore. And I got to a point, like, John, you've heard athletes say this all the time too, like, they know when it's time to hang it up. And, I had kind of finally gotten to the point where I just couldn't care enough about who the backup safety is if the starting safety is injured and can't go on Sunday. And so what I do now is I'm behind the scenes much more. I produce our daily newsletter. I'm the last line of defense when it comes to copy editing stories. I manage what goes where on the website and things like that. I actually do a fair amount of writing still, but it's smaller chunks in the newsletter and things like that. And it's been a nice little exercise to do something different and sort of, think about my job a little differently than I have or ever had to, I guess, along the way.
And Tammy, things have changed. We met. You were in the Vanderbilt Sports Information office, and boy, those were some glory days. Do you have it when I think about?
Yes.
Foster and I'll just the women's team was just dynamic and filling the place and all that. But it has changed. Do you feel like, you got out as well? You're, with public relations and well, you should, but it just, for me, it just changed. And I don't want to be bitter, I don't want to be bitter. I want to be
different.
better.
It's just so different. Although, the student athletes are still student athletes and they're still people. And that's what I love about it. And I miss it. I mean, I do miss being on a college campus. I did get out right before all of the social media. I got out before the NIL, so I don't think I miss that. I don't think I would miss. I don't miss that, but I do miss being on that college campus because those kids. Oh my God! I always say Vanderbilt is just the perfect place. It's in the best city in the world. It's in the especially in the conference. I mean, it's in the greatest conference in the world. You've got the most unbelievable student athletes who come to school here, great coaches, world-class coaches, and it's just a great fit. I mean, it was just like that perfect storm of just a great place to be. And I was so fortunate, to work with Jim Foster and to work with Tim Corbin. Oh my God, just in I've worked with Gary Blair, who is in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. I've worked with Pat Henry, Sue Gunner, who was at down at LSU. I mean, I've been just so fortunate to work with great people. And our first year here, working with women's basketball, there was this freshman standout from Alabama, a center named Candace Story, who I'm so incredibly proud of her and knew she was going to do great things. And that first year she was redshirted because she had knee problems. She had a knee issue back then, and bless her heart, she's still with that, still kind of have some knee issues. But you just knew back then she was special because she just rallied her team, whether she was on the court or not on the court. So pretty cool times. Work with some great people.
We always like to tell the story though from those days too. We laugh. I remember her telling me one night, "We need to go. You need to come up to campus. There's a baseball event tonight, and it's something with the new coach." And we just and I thought, okay, free meal, whatever. I'll go. I'll go get that. And it was Tim Corbin's first preseason banquet with Vanderbilt baseball. And if you've never been to one of these banquets, it is the most remarkable thing you've ever seen.
Get your ticket and go.
And it's funny because in the year I'm talking about, there were maybe 100 people in that room, and it was mostly players and their parents. But Tim, nowadays they have it in a ballroom at the Omni, and it's probably a couple thousand and this and that. But the one thing that has never changed is Tim Corbin will introduce the players. He has no notes, no anything, and he'll start saying, and this is Jimmy Smith, and his parents are Bobby and Millie, and they're great people, and his brother Tom is in a tuba player in the band, and he's got all this. I mean, it gives you just incredible insight. And at the end of that night, he made this speech about how his goal for this program was not just to make it to Omaha, but to make it to Omaha repeatedly and win national championships. And if you remember what Vanderbilt baseball was in 2004, 2005, it seemed like an absurd thing to say. But we walked out of there that night, and we just looked at each other like, oh my God, that guy is unbelievable. And I kind of believe he's going to do it. Yeah. As ridiculous as it sounds. And of course, now here we are, he's been there how many times and won a couple and finished second a couple times. And it was, we still laugh about that.
John,
night.
you remember that the stadium, it wasn't a stadium, it was a baseball field. They had bleachers. They even had bleachers. The benches weren't even there. There was no press box. Andrew Marinus, who now works there at Vanderbilt.
He's been
still
on
there now.
He's been on the second
now.
cup.
Yeah. Yep, he's there. He and I would sit at a card table with a tent, sometimes tent, maybe not a tent, maybe an umbrella if it was raining, with a boom box, and that was the music, and a microphone, and that's how it started. Then they built this press box. It was supposedly a press box, and you had to run out the door to see if the ball was fair or foul on the left, the third base line. And so every time I go, because I have a season ticket, that's my one season ticket, because I love, I just want to be there. I go by myself. It's fabulous with my little group of people around me, our little baseball family there. And I just look around and I'm just amazed. Of course, it's not surprising because Tim and Maggie Corbin are oh my God, those young men who've come through that program. Oh my word. Yeah. And they're just fabulous.
And they're still tight as ticks.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, to put a bow on this, Candace Story Lee is the athletic director, former News 2 intern.
Went to you then, huh?
Yeah. And then, we told her, go be an AD. I told her, no.
You don't want this.
I know. All right, here we go.
Good for you.
Joe, I had a problem getting into our luxurious building. I didn't have my key card.
You lost your card?
I don't know how this happens. I cannot keep, if it's not Velcro to me. But anyway, Claire, who kind of runs the joint here on Music Row, beautiful building, great natural light. I needed help, and she got me the key card right away. Now, there's a small fee, and there should be.
Yes.
Because I'm irresponsible. But anyway, just another example of them coming through for me when I needed it.
And when you're watching on the YouTube, you'll see our eSpaces studio here and all throughout our building. Beautiful scenic views. We're on hip, trendy, beautiful Music Square West, 17th. And everything you would need, all the amenities, as John is talking about, the perfect office space to grow your business. Gorgeous common area, and just around Nashville, Music Row, Midtown, Green Hills, Burton Hills, the Nations. Get your business growing. eSpaces.com.
Rapid fire. Pew, 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 pew. Rapid fire.
We are immature.
You can tell they're avid listeners of the pod because they know exactly what's coming up.
Oh, why'd we come here?
Tammy, quick questions, quick answers. Poster on your bedroom wall growing up.
Dan Pastorini.
Nice.
Number 7 of the
Left-hander.
then Oilers. Yeah.
Dante Pastorini, Santa Clara University. Yes,
Okay.
love
He had the
him.
flowing locks.
Him and Bjorn Borg.
Okay.
Big tennis
Okay,
fan.
yeah.
Tennis
My
fan.
wife has
Beyond
no
board.
issue watching. We watched a whole documentary with the sound down, and because it was beyond. Yeah, she loved him. What about you?
Marcus Allen. You remember the old Sports Illustrated posters? I loved. I
did too.
I was a big running back guy. I still love a good running game. And then I also had one of Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton in the Phillies blue uniforms. Steve Carlton holding a flaming baseball, and Mike Schmidt's bat was on fire.
Yeah. Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah.
I grew up until 1978. So I grew up in Vet Stadium watching that powder blue team, got to see Dr. J, saw the Stanley Cup.
We're not going to let them talk Philly sport.
We're
Every
have
time
some
we do
moments
this
here. I love it. It's hard to communicate that to others who aren't fortunate at all.
And as much of a dump as Vet Stadium was, it was great.
Great, terrific. It
was great.
And it was modeled Riverfront, Three Rivers. You know, that same kind
Although
of.
one of my fondest memories of being a kid, I was probably 7 or 8 years old, a baseball game, chased down a hot dog vendor, and there was an adult man got to it before me, and the guy wanted ketchup on his hot dog. And the vendor stopped, and he looked at me and rolled his eyes. And he made it for him, gave the guy, and he looked at me. He said, "What do you have?" I said, "Hot dog with mustard." He said, "Yeah, you will." And
Good for you. Good for you.
I thought the hot dog vendor, thinks I know hot dogs. That was. I still chuckle at that.
That's a great story. David, as a writer, what about you as a reader? What's the last book you read?
The last book I read was something called what was it called? It was a fictional book, Moonshine something. It sort of was modeled after the TV series Justified. If you ever watched that, it was about a female sheriff in a small West Virginia town whose mother was the crime boss in the area, and it was that and Valley of Fire, which is a Western fiction by a man named Johnny Boggs, who is a tremendous and prolific Western writer these days.
Tammy, you're about to blow a gasket here.
No, I don't read.
That's what you were.
I don't even have one because I don't. I try.
She reads cookbooks.
I love cookbooks and I love magazines, but I don't read books. It takes too long. I can't sit there sit there to read.
You didn't have to divulge that. I was going somewhere else with you. Like, what was your first car?
Oh, my first car. My first car that was mine that I bought was a 240 SX red car named Scarlet.
Sure. That was a Datsun back in those days, or was it already Nissan?
Wow, he's calling you old.
I know. But if it's the truth, it ain't
I had a Datsun 280ZX.
Oh, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I couldn't afford that.
They were still Datsuns back then. That's why I said that.
Yeah. I think it was a Nissan because I kind of have it was back when I was in Baton Rouge, and Chris Jackson, who was played at LSU, he had one.
Mahmoud now, or what?
Yes.
What did he change his name?
Yes,
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
You've
got to.
David's got it.
You've got to. You've got to.
My
tell
eye
the
is
story,
what you
though.
did.
You have to tell the story.
Go ahead, Chris. Wonderful.
No, it's not a.
If you need to do the rapid fire first.
Go ahead, whip it out. You can tell we don't know what we're doing.
Okay, so I worked at LSU from 1988 to 92. Absolutely loved it, and it was back in the day when Shaquille O'Neal, Chris Jackson, Vernell Singleton, Stanley Roberts. I mean, they were all on that basketball team. But so Shaquille and a point guard named Dennis Tracy, we all went to Media Day. So we come back from Media Day from Birmingham. Sue Gunner drops me off. I get in my car, my little 2-door hatchback. And I look up and I see Coach Brown has left Shaquille and Dennis. And I'm like, oh, my God. So I drove up there. I said, what are y'all doing? And he goes, oh, we're good. Said, Coach Brown just told us to grab a taxi back to campus. And I'm like, y'all aren't taking a taxi. I'm like, come on. So I opened my door. I pushed the seat back as far as I could. Dennis got in the back. He was like laying down in the back, and Shaquille gets in the front seat. I don't know how, but he gets in the front seat.
Like a clown car.
It was. And he looking around. He goes, Miss Tammy, this is a fine ride. I said, thanks, Shaquille. He said, I'm going to buy one of these one day. I said, Shaquille, you can buy the entire Nissan plant one day.
Probably
he was. Now. Oh my God, he was fabulous. I mean, still is. He's just a kid. I mean, back then he was 19 years old and still, acts the same. Just loves life and just. But yeah, that was I did. I just shook my head. I'm like,
and whoever represents him now, he is in every commercial possible.
Yes,
he's just everywhere.
Yes, just delightful.
Final question: a pet peeve. And it can't be traffic because everybody says that.
The reason why, when I read people write the reason why, it's the reason something happened or it's why something happened.
I could reach over and kiss you right now. I have little things like this. Like you can't be very unique.
Right.
You can be one. You're one of a kind. You go off on your Philly stuff, and I'll go off on my grammar stuff. First annual. How about very pregnant? You're either pregnant or you're not. Yes. You can't descend down. Anyway, but I like that one. Past history.
Past history
can't
is
do
another
that.
one.
Yeah,
yes,
and I'll tell you.
Really gets me.
Yeah. What about you? Pet peeve.
I know this is. A lot of people do this, so sorry if you do. Backing into a parking spot.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
I mean, especially at places where you can get out. I mean, where you can back in. If you can't drive your car, because they never back in one time. It's like they have to maneuver and maneuver and maneuver. I say, if you can't back in on one little shot, then you don't need to be backing in.
We park on the 5th floor here at the East Spaces, and there's no cars up there. And guess who's Mr. Parking backwards?
John's nose first in. I'm backed in because I can just do it one spot.
Right here.
Right there.
Weirdos.
I love her even more. You got any more questions?
David, last question. What advice would you give your 18-year-old self now?
Ask her out 2 years earlier.
Cut out the sweets a little earlier in life, probably. I went through a pretty chubby phase at one point. Yeah,
you look great now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. About 7 years ago, got myself into a gym and got things together.
How much did you lose?
40 pounds.
How about that? Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah. So
you got to.
It's one of those as you age, like you're supposed to stop eating certain things, and I didn't. So. Yeah.
Mustangs
age well. No fat to cut out there.
F-150s, they run for days. Let's talk about Two Rivers Ford, Joseph.
John, Two Rivers Ford, they just rolled off employee pricing, and what that is going to transition to now is the sales staff, when you go to Two Rivers Ford, 0 commission. So John Barker, his father started it back when they were over on Donaldson Pike, Elm Hill area, and it's now at the beautiful, huge lot off I-40, 0 commission. So it's a comfortable environment. I get stressed out. I don't buy a car all the time, but I got my Expedition there. I have 2 Mustangs. One son, he gets the 6-cylinder. I got the big GT8 8-cylinder one, but no pressure. You're literally, it's like going to Publix and you're shopping for the car you want, John.
And you always hear about Two Rivers Ford because they're philanthropic. They got the in the city of Mount Juliet, the 250 Independence celebration going on. They're one of the big sponsors for that. Family-owned, family-run since 1983. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
And David, I want to step back to you coming to here. We just mentioned, heard from Dan Pastorini. The Oilers made it to Nashville, and I was a part of it working at 103 KDF. We would become the flagship station for the Titans, the NFL Yes campaign. I interviewed Floyd Reese, Jeff Fisher, Bud Adams once. He didn't make an appearance too often, but that was a big deal. The city had to vote yes, and John and I have told the story of Adelphia getting built where Al Del Greco, instead of the shovel going in, he kicked a field goal into the hole. And I think Coach Fisher's, he was on the show. He said, did he make it? So I always thought that was a good one.
Did he squibble kick it?
I was going to say, you've touched a nerve over there again with that name.
And he, what's
that? Auburn, what's the problem with Al? What's the problem with Al Del Greco?
Did you go out with Al Del Greco before David?
No. And it just, and my brother was a place kicker. So I really have a very special place in my heart for place kickers. But the Houston Oilers, Buffalo Bills, the big comeback game when the Oilers were ahead and were going to go to the playoffs, they're up by
38 to 3, 35 to 3.
Or after that, the ensuing kickoff after going up that far. Del Greco, it was like a squib kick. It was an awful kick, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what is he doing? Because gave him great field position, and then Frank Reich just became the MVP of the world. Yeah, I mean,
he was backup quarterback. Jim Kelly was hurt, so Reich had to go in.
Reich comes in the lead, and I will never forget my mother, who, rest her soul, she loved football too. She called me and she's like, oh my God, Tammy, the Oilers are finally going to do it. And I think I'm actually like on the phone with her when he squib kicks. I'm like, what is that kick? So I kind of have
she kind of blames Al for that whole comeback.
One moment of time.
Al. I'm so sorry, Al. I know you've won lots of games. But,
God, do you hold grudges?
Yes.
That early third quarter kick that went out and gave him the ball at the 45. That's not going to matter. Yeah. Wow.
Give us your top 5 Dave grudges. This could be a better part of the show. So, Dave, where I wanted to go with that was Titans are here, went to the Super Bowl. Now we have a new stadium. Maybe you've covered the whole era, and after Coach Fisher, John was the host of the Coach Fisher show, I think longest tenured in the NFL, 14 some years maybe.
Yeah,
pushing that. That was great. We've just kind of rotated through coaches.
Yeah,
and the new stadium, we already have a Super Bowl, so obviously if you sit in Nissan now, you're like, man, this thing is bad. It's just totally deteriorated.
I thought that when it opened.
So
did you cover it?
I mean, it was.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that.
It was nice, but I remember thinking, okay, not a lot of bells and whistles. It's interesting that you hear that it was built with too much concrete and not enough steel, and that's like when they went in and started looking, because the original plan was just to refurbish it, and then they were told, well, no, you've got to do so much work and this and that, and I mean, the average stadium life these days is about 30 years, so it's made it there just about. So but I remember the first preseason game against the Atlanta Falcons. Tammy was there. She's volunteered with the Titans on game days for Sundays the whole time too. And I remember just walking out of the stadium that night, and more so than the stadium, just looking back across the river and downtown being lit up, and it was an exciting night with the first preseason game, and it felt like something. Even though it was never going to be the greatest stadium in history, it still felt like sort of a big deal and an important moment right there.
It was, and we tailgated an right out front. In the beginning days, the tailgating started at 8 a.m., if not earlier, and it just ballistic, lit up, fantastic. My question where I was going is with the coaches. After Fisher, why do you think, why aren't people lasting? Why did they can Vrabel? Why didn't Callahan work out? And here we go into a new era, a new set of golf clubs, new stadium. We're going to be a lot better.
Yeah, part of it, I don't know that Amy Adams-Strunk knows what she's looking for, number one. And number two, I think a little bit of her issue is that she looks at leadership as, I'm not afraid to fire somebody. And if I have to, I'll fire somebody. Because
doesn't fall very far from the tree,
right? And that's what's funny. Jeff. That's what's funny, because Bud Adams went through a string of coaches at one point, and the franchise when they were the Houston Oilers was moribund for a while there in the mid 70s, early 70s, and she's sort of repeating the mistakes of her father, and sort of what happened was, you remember John Robinson. I think rightfully so. I think when he got the job, he always wanted Mike Vrabel to be his head coach at some point, and he accelerated that timetable because Mike Vrabel was getting head coach interviews after 1 year as a defensive coordinator. So even though the Titans had been to the playoffs and won a playoff game under Mike Mularkey, I think John Robinson thought, if I don't hire this guy right now, I'm never going to get to hire him. He talked Amy into that, but then John Robinson and Mike Vrabel don't get along, and so rather than lay down a leadership plan and say, this is how you two are going to work together, this is what I expect from you, she says, I'll show you I'm in charge, and I'll fire John Robinson. And she hires Rand Carthen. Well, then all of a sudden Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthen aren't getting along, and she says, well, I'll show you. Now, Mike Vrabel, you're gone. And there's been a little too much of that, I think, and at this point, whether Robert Saleh is a great head coach or not, I think they need to just ride with him for a few years, ride with Mike Borgonzi as GM, get something in place that if you get to a point, then the next coach, next GM, or both, can build on or whatever. But it's been too much change in too little time here.
Best answer we've ever had for that, and you can read more in the Nashville Banner, NashvilleBanner.com.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Tammy, I want to just go down memory lane with you. Give me, as we wrap this up, give me one or two wonderful memories of your time. It can be at LSU because I know that it's a very fond place. But most people, I just think of you always being at Vanderbilt, and you're a Hall of Famer. And you're a trailblazer. And thank goodness we don't mention. It's the first woman. I think we're past that. But back in the old days, less younger days.
There you go. No, I don't mind.
Do you have a moment or two that you think of?
Yeah, I just
the Rod Dowhauer news conferences.
Those were Woody Woodenhofer.
Woody was good.
Those news conferences were interesting.
Yes,
those were
at least
great.
He gave us quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
God, it's so hard because, like I said, there's just so many wonderful people that I've been so fortunate to work with. And I'm very lucky now also. I want to mention that also. I've been out of it, but, I work now with a PR firm in Franklin, and it's a family. It's why I left. Because I loved athletics because it was like a family. And Vanderbilt was like a family back then. Again, because we didn't have 50 sports like a lot of these universities have. But I was so fortunate to work a lot of the women's basketball Final Fours. So I saw Cheryl Swoops, that performance she had against Vanderbilt. And I wasn't working, I was still at the Southern Conference at the time, but working the Final Fours and meeting the people. Oh my gosh, all of the coaches, being able to call on Van Chancellor, or being able to, call on, just different media, just different people in the media, and we're still friends. And sports information directors all over the country that I always say it's the greatest fraternity. It's the greatest organization, because if I get stuck in a town and they have a sports information director, I know I can call them up and I can say, hey, can you come help me? And they'd be there in 2 seconds, because it's just a great organization. But just the student athletes, meeting the people, the coaches, the media. I told you I loved working with you. It's
referees.
That's the referee.
I remember being in the Cleveland airport one time, and all of a sudden she gets up and starts talking to people, and it was a WNBA crew who she, on their way to another game, who she knew from college basketball games when they were reffing there. So
I just love talking to people and hearing their stories, and just learning more about them and hearing their stories, and just. So I probably don't have. I don't really know if I have just one. Again, loved working with a Jim Foster and a Tim Corbin, from Vanderbilt days, and just good people. Just good people.
As David said, adapting to the new age of media. You both are still turning and burning and churning it all out. David, real quick, you think we'll get Major League Baseball here in Nashville?
I don't.
No.
I think there's too many. Certainly the effort is there. But they don't, number one, have the big money yet. First of all, they have to find somebody like a John Ingram, and there's nobody like that with the part of the ownership group. Two, there are stadium issues, obviously, that have to be resolved, and some of that is taxpayer money that was used to build First Horizon Park right now, and there are legal issues around that and what goes on. There's the Major League Baseball TV rights that include Cincinnati and Atlanta both having partial claim to this town, and neither one of those teams, I guarantee you, is saying, oh, no, we don't need to be on TV in Nashville. Don't worry about that. There's just it's after the success of Nashville SC, which, if you remember, they were about 12th in line when they got in, and Don Garber, the MLS commissioner, actually said to the original group leading that effort, like, you're welcome to apply, and we'll look forward to getting to know you, but you're not going to get this franchise. And they ended up leapfrogging 11 of the 12 or 10 of the 11 teams and cities in front of them, and got in at the head of the line. That I think has skewed everybody's sense of how hard all of this is, and I just don't think baseball is going to be able to repeat it. If baseball comes, it's still well off in the distance.
What give a reason and how is an on-ramp that they can read and see your stuff for the Nashville banner. Demetria did a great job talking about it. And is it Steve Cavendish, who is the publisher? He's back in there now. And talk about your segment and how folks can find you.
It's easy enough. Just sign up on our website for our newsletter, our daily newsletter. It's free. You don't have to, and it's written in such a way that even if you don't consume any other news through our website or elsewhere, you'll still have, we'll link you to the stories we have, but we'll summarize the stories in a way that even if you don't go read them, you still feel like you have a pretty good sense of some of the important things going on here in town.
Is that it?
So
NashvilleBanner.com?
It's at NashvilleBanner.com, and you can just go sign up for the newsletter.
I get the flyer every day. I'm a subscriber.
I appreciate that.
I'm a donor. And it's great. And it's local. We'll get back to why you guys both got back into it. It's local again, out of the corporate cog, and kind of, everybody's doing the best they can, but it's about local.
Well, it's a nonprofit news organization, so it's a different reader experience than a lot of other things. We're not beholden to page views, so you're not going to get videos popping up in the middle of your story. You're not going to have the pop-up ads. You can scroll to the bottom and pretty freely in most cases, and it's kind of that's talking about adapting to the new age media. That's kind of where the quote-unquote newspaper industry is going now, and we partner with an outfit out of Missouri called News Revenue Hub, and there was and another outfit called the American Journalism Project, and the American Journalism Project put together a thing recently where they showed it to us, and it really sort of, you came out of there like, oh, okay, we're on the right track. This thing's gonna work out for us. So.
Well, happy 31st anniversary!
Thank you.
Congratulations on being back.
Yeah, moved here 30 years ago. I challenge you to find a couple of really Nashville sports media relations royalty, if you will. So a lot of great years, and thank you for what you guys have done. And thank you for finding time to be together.
We appreciate you inviting us. This was fun. Yeah.
Hey, you're welcome. May God bless you and keep you and make his face shine on you both, and the great mentorship that you have ahead for many folks coming up through the ranks.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Thanks for being on the Second Cup of Joe.
And John,
let's find the ending.
You know what you're doing.
It's the Second Cup of Joe and John as their guests expound on any and all topics within the realm of decency. Want to be a sponsor? Let a TV and radio guy help build your business. Email the show, secondcupofjoeandjohn@gmail.com. Now, hold on tight and grab another Second Cup of Joe and John.